and he whipped her out and away from himself, causing more of his blood to fly in an arc through the wet heat of the jungle scene. It smelled delicious. Deluge took another step forward and crouched in the darkened hollow underneath a rotting rysel stalk. He would have gone closer, but the injured Chelan blundered by as it flung the Basreen around some more, and Deluge didn't feel like getting stepped on. Chelan were heavy, and the suckers on the underside of their tentacles stung. As Deluge watched, unnoticed, the Chelan whipped the Basreen back across his body, which turned out to be a mistake. The Basreen managed to reach out and wrap itself around the joint where one of the Chelan's aft legs joined his abdomen. When the Chelan hauled the Basreen back the other direction, she flexed her muscles and held fast, and his grip slid off the end of her tail. The Basreen had long since folded in her membranes, leaving her looking like nothing so much as an elongated tube of muscle, which, truth be told, wasn't far off. She used her strength to gather her body up and began climbing the Chelan's leg. He let out a deep, hoarse-sounding howl of distress that shook water droplets from the leaves above. He tried to use his forelegs to pull at the Basreen, to sting her, to try and tear her loose. But Deluge knew that Basreen's skin was thick and nearly impervious to puncture wounds. If there was such a thing as perfectly flexible armor, the Basreen was wearing it. When the Chelan turned his back on Deluge's hiding place in his frantic dance to escape, Deluge sprang. He leaped from the darkness under the wide, flat rysel leaves and landed squarely on the Chelan's abdomen. The Chelan, mid-howl, faltered as the new threat presented itself. Before the hexapod could reach up to grab at him with one of its unoccupied limbs, Deluge slashed his claws across the creature's vulnerable eyes. The Chelan screamed, and 3 of his arms flailed up, stingers glistening with drops of deadly poison at the tips. Deluge ducked one, grabbed onto another, and twisted himself up into a handspring that landed him on top of the creature's head. The 3rd tentacle followed, and Deluge swatted it away with brute force as he dove down to the forest floor, still holding on to the Chelan's limb. The creature yanked and twisted, and nearly succeeded in getting away from Deluge, but the hunter had wrapped the tentacle around his wrist and secured it by stabbing the stinger deep into the Chelan's own flesh. The toxin wouldn't hurt him, of course, but it did prevent him from getting away. Next order of business, Deluge thought, the Basreen. Less than half a heartbeat had elapsed since his initial leap from the undergrowth, and the arboreal predator was still working her way up onto the body of the Chelan. Deluge reached out with his free hand and gripped her tail. She screeched in protest as he yanked hard enough to separate half her length from the Chelan's leg. Had she been prepared for him, he never would have succeeded. But apparently Deluge had caught the Basreen by surprise, because he was able to get enough slack in her body for his idea to work. The blinded Chelan, warned by the Basreen's shriek, turned and surged in Deluge's direction. The hunter ducked and then came up hard under the creature's abdomen, stabbing upward with the Basreen's stinger in the vulnerable spot between the foremost set of legs. The Chelan froze, shuddered, then began to crumple. Deluge flung the Basreen away from himself and dove out of the way of the Chelan's toppling weight. The animal, wounded and paralyzed, crashed to the jungle floor. Deluge rolled up to his back feet and waited for a moment. But the Chelan didn't move. It was fully incapacitated. He dropped back down to all 4 paws and stalked closer, scenting the air. The Basreen was nearby, and he didn't know if she would contest his kill or not. "Hunter!" she screeched in the way of her kind. Deluge froze and watched as she reared her elongated body up above the bulk of the Chelan's still breathing corpse. "Basreen," Deluge said in return. Though a lower life form, the Basreen was a fellow predator and deserved respect. "Your kill," the Basreen said, which surprised Deluge. As a species, they were not known for their generosity. "You helped," Deluge replied. "Shall we split the Chelan?" "Split," the Basreen agreed. "Young to feed." "Ah, of course then. I will take the stingers and poison sacs. The meat is yours." "Good hunter,"